I have a confession to make. I have a wrist injury that I've ignored for about 2 years. I know, shameful, right? Although I tell myself I'm too busy to go to the doctor, there's really no excuse for me not getting it checked out. But what I really want to share with you is how the injury happened. It's the result of poor posture. Turns out, hunching your shoulders and bending your wrists while sitting at a tiny table at a cafe as you type feverishly for hours at a time on your laptop just isn't good for you. Hi, I'm Alicia Butler Pierre, and this self inflicted injury happened when I wrote my book. And sadly, I was continuing down this path of working from anywhere with a large enough flat surface until I met today's special guest. He's a VP at Logitech. Did you know Logitech is actually a software company that's in the business of ergonomics? He's going to share with us just how critical having the right mouse, headset, keyboard, and webcam is to our output. But that's not all. He's also going to share tips for setting up these products to prevent pain and maximize productivity. You're about to find out what Logitech means when they say, feel better, do better. This is Season 10, Episode 124. Let's start the show. Hi there. This season, we are doing live workflow consultations, and joining me today is Art O Gnimh in Lausanne. Did I say that?
Lausanne.
Okay, Lausanne, Switzerland. Thank you, Art. And Art is a senior VP at a global company that we've all heard of, Logitech. Now, you might be thinking, what on earth does Logitech products have to do with you improving your operations or your everyday workflows and processes? Well, it's all about ergonomics and productivity. And with that in mind, Art is actually going to give us a demo of different products, and we'll also share some home office tips, about how you can properly set up your office to, again, maximize productivity as well as efficiency. Because as Logitech says, when you feel better, you do better. In other words, you perform better. So with that in mind, Art, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alicia. I'm delighted to be here. I also want to thank you for the promotion because actually I'm VP, not senior VP, but
okay, my
I thank you
apologies.
for that.
As I looked at your LinkedIn profile and I noticed all of the different promotions you've had at Logitech over the years, I just assumed it was senior VP. I was thinking, oh, maybe he left out the word senior, and
Maybe I heard it here first. I'm delighted. Thank you.
Well, it's definitely an honor to have you here on the show. I'm so excited about this. Before we get into talking a little bit more about different Logitech products that can help us improve our productivity, I was first wondering if we could start off talking a little bit more about you and Logitech and your history at the company. How did you go from being a regional product manager to becoming a VP, the global head of an $800 million plus line of business?
I mean, first of all, it takes some time, right? I joined Logitech 14 years ago, which in Logitech terms is kind of middling because we have a lot of diversity in people who've joined 30 years ago and people who joined 30 days ago or 30 hours ago. So we have a lot of different generations within Logitech of people who are here. I joined and I started really thinking that I would work in Logitech for a couple of years to professionalize, see how it went. And I loved it from day one. And from day one, I started to learn things. And every day I learned something at Logitech. And every day I work with passionate people. So it kept me passionate and kept me wanting to do more and to learn more. I've had a lot of experiences working in different roles in the European sales and marketing organization, first of all, and then in global business, managing our keyboards business. And then now taking on some more responsibilities with mice and with other devices. So it's just exciting. And I think it's the kind of the growth and learning journey that many people at Logitech have gone through. It's a place where people really do build their careers and feel great about doing it while they're doing it.
Now, here's a quick fun fact. I assumed Logitech was the merging of the words logical and technology. But I was doing some research and I think it actually derives from the French word for software. Is that correct?
Yeah, we started as a software company in 1981. So we're nearly 40 years old. Next year we'll be 40 years old,
wow.
Which in tech terms is a mature company, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe I'll talk in a moment about how we how we stay young, despite those 39 years past. But because we're Lausanne, where I am, is the origin. This is where the founders of Logitech studied in a university close to here called the EPFL, which is one of the top engineering schools in the world.
Mm.
And because they were French speakers, and the area is French speaking, we're on the banks of Lake Geneva here in the Swiss Alps. So they formed this company, Logitech, and they actually moved and did some studies in Stanford, and then formed an office in Palo Alto. And so the origins of Logitech really span this part of Switzerland and Silicon Valley.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, as I was looking over Logitech's website, I noticed that obviously there are, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quickly just to share this presentation that I have here. Can you see this, Art?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So let me just go up here. Now, there are different lines of products, and please correct me because I'm just trying to make sure I understand the business itself. So you have different product lines, and it seems as though there are different series for each type of product. For example, with the mice, there's the master series of mice. Is that correct? Is that how things are structured at Logitech?
So we're structured. I mean, we're sort of about a $3 billion company, right? So it's structured and divided into different business groups for that reason. And our business groups are they span different areas, which are really kind of solution spaces for end users, whether they're in a business or for consumers. So gaming, for example, or video collaboration, or streaming, creation and streaming, so people can share their passions with the world, or creativity and productivity in the personal workspace. So that's the part that I work in. We call it our creativity and productivity business group. And it's all around, creating experiences to help people in their personal workspace. And I manage a couple of the business units within that space. One of the other business units within that space we call our MX, or our Master Series business. And this is really for people who want kind of the pinnacle of performance and design and comfort, where it all comes together with products that help these people to be the best at creating a performance. It's for developers, it's for creative professionals, it's for people with advanced needs who need the very, very best in terms of equipment for them. So we have mice like our MX Master Mouse, or in fact our MX Master 3 Mouse, or MX Anywhere 3 Mouse, which I'll talk about in a while, the MX Anywhere 3, because it's quite new. It's about 3 weeks old. It's pretty fresh. And we have our MX Keys keyboard. And these are the reference for what a great mouse can be, or what a great keyboard can be. So that's our Master Series. Then apart from that, we have some other products that are really all about ergonomics. We have a lot of ergonomic expertise within Logitech. We've had it for a while. We've been building it and building it. We have ergonomics experts in Logitech. Plus, we have an ergonomic advisory board, which includes some of the best experts on personal workspace ergonomics in the world. And then we have an Ergo Lab, who we're actually able to experiment within our own premises. We're able to experiment and to with design thinking in mind, we're able to understand what people's problems are in terms of comfort and ergonomics. And then we're able to design solutions, to test, to iterate, to measure muscle movement, to measure muscle activity, to measure strain and tension on tendons or articulation, and to iterate until we get the perfect ergonomic product. So that's our Ergo range, so the Master Series. Then we've got our ergonomic products. And then we have the parts of the business, which really are the parts that I spend most of my time working on, which are either products that are for, I would say, people with basic needs, or who are looking for something simply better than the basic mouse or keyboard or other device, but things that will give them a little bit of help just to do the activities that they do all the time with the computer easier, more comfortably, faster, more efficiently. I also, one other part of the business and the way that we divide it is to categorize a bunch of products as lifestyle products. What we mean here is for people who want to curate a beautiful space. think of the Instagrammable desk that you can imagine in your head, right? For those people who are curating that space, and we're designing certain solutions that will really fit in and allow people to make this beautiful space, and so that they can, get joy out of that themselves or share that joy with other people. So that's how we divide it. So first by business groups along big lines of solutions for consumers. And then within those business groups, we're focusing on different consumers with different needs, from the masters who need the MX series to the people who want the Instagrammable space, to the people who just want something that is simply better than the default solutions.
And I would imagine, Art, that ergonomics is on the forefront now more than ever of so many people's minds, because with the pandemic that we're in right now, the global pandemic, so many of us are working from home now. I've always had that flexibility of being able to work remotely as well as in an actual office location. But for so many people, they are working remotely or from home for the first time, and they're having difficulty setting up things properly. And we're finding that we're sitting in front of our computers for far more extended periods of time. Whereas before, yes, you may have had a desk job, meaning you're sitting in front of your desk, but you may not be accustomed to having back-to-back meetings where you're literally sitting in front of your computer for several hours at a time. I've been emceeing a major global podcasting conference over the past 2 weeks, and I'm literally in front of the computer for 7 hours. It's intense. And it's funny because there's no physical exertion, but I think it's the mental fatigue. It's trying to make sure that I have the proper adjustment or proper height of my computer, my laptop. I have my webcam set up, but I find it to be challenging. And by the time each session is over, by the end of the day, or by the time the conference ends at a certain time in the day, I'm spent. I am completely exhausted. It's as though I had done, 12 hours of pure manual labor. Can you talk about that a little bit more? I'm sure you all have seen a significant increase, I would imagine, in the number of not just mice and keyboards, but webcams as well, because so many of us are having these remote meetings where we have to access video conferencing.
But I'd say there's two different things that are real, right? One is comfort as you work, just the physical comfort of working. The other is the mental comfort and the mental exertion and the mental and cognitive load that intense video conferencing puts on you. On the physical comfort, when I worked, so in Logitech, we've always embraced the flexibility of working from home. By the way, we supported every October for many years of work from home week, not just for Logitech, but globally. We try to embrace and create that wave because we love the flexibility of it. It's not for everybody, but we love that flexibility and that choice. Now, in the office, I worked in the office mainly. I worked sometimes from home, but in the office, I did work for 8 hours a day in front of a computer or in a conference room or something else. But I had chairs that were designed for a person to sit for 8 hours a day.
Right.
An office desk that was designed for the ergonomics of somebody sitting here. I had a computer monitor that was at the right height so that my body was in a natural position as I look at it. I had a webcam, mouse, at a keyboard. So I replicated that experience at home so that I don't have to suffer and to have a lesser experience, because I'm doing the same work and I have the same needs at home as I did in the office. And that's the optimal, right? And I think once if you have that, then the physical comfort is in some way looked after, right? The same physical needs as you have in the office, you have at home. So we should look after those physical needs. And we'll talk more about that and what that setup should be and how, what I think the minimum requirements are in terms of, helping people to be comfortable so that they do the best work in a home. The second part is the connection via webcams and microphones or headphones. I mean, that's crucial because now we are more physically disconnected than before. So we need to invest even more of our focus and attention on the connection via video or via audio. And this is, the tools that we're using now are incredibly powerful. And I'm so grateful that we have these tools available to us to make to make companies like ours and businesses like yours stay, running as well as they are during these times.
Yes.
But there is a notion of fatigue and cognitive load, and there's tips on how to improve that. I mean, clearly, people need to take breaks. In a real office, right, you take breaks because maybe you walk to a meeting room to have one meeting. That's a break. And then you're changing your focal distance as you're in the meeting room. You're changing the angle that you're sitting in. You're moving. You're seeing different people.
Right.
You're seeing different walls. So taking breaks, getting fresh air where people can get fresh air, stretching legs. Doing one tip that I found on video calls, it's especially if people are sharing content, you're having to look at the person that you're talking to, because I want to engage with you, right? That's humans. I want
Right.
to look at you in the eye and want to talk to you. But at the same
Exactly.
time, if I have my picture beside me, we're also humans and we're vain creatures. So we're looking in the mirror, right? And we're already having to try to split by thinking between looking in the mirror, hey, look, how do I look? And then looking at the person that we're supposed to be talking to. That's an extra cognitive load. So on this application that we're using now, you're able to hide
Great point.
self-view. If I hide self-view, I find myself being able to engage much more with the person that I'm talking to. The
That's
second thing is, it's a really, really nice tip. The second thing is, if you have a big enough screen, you shouldn't have a screen which is too big that you have to move your neck, because that's creating another ergonomic problem, right? So you don't want to be moving your neck all day, but you want a screen which is the right size, about at arm's length. And if that screen is big enough to be comfortable at that level, you can then have the person big enough to be able to really see the person while you see the content that that person is trying to show to you. And then there's other a few other tips in terms of the video usage that I think everybody is coming and learning about now, because in Logitech we see the last 6 months as, I mean, an incredible opportunity for us to understand the problems that we can solve for. What are the jobs that people need done, or what are the pain points that people may experience, and how can we solve for those? So we're really tuned to spotting these things when we go into other people's houses to try to empathize with them. But right now we're experiencing it ourselves. And so we're
right.
seeing lots of ways that this experience can get better and better over time.
Now you mentioned something I think that's so critical. The fact that you are accustomed to having things set up a certain way in your actual office location,
Yeah.
but you've been able to replicate that same setup in your home office. But for those of us who don't know how to set those things up, so it's one thing to know what tools and products that you actually need, Art, but once you actually try to set those things up at home, you don't have the benefit of having the ergonomist or the industrial hygienist that you could, if you were in your regular office location, you could tap on the shoulders of those people, or pick up a phone and call them, or maybe chat with them to help you get things set up properly. So with that in mind, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Ergo Lab, because to your point, you all have spent a considerable amount of time over the past 6 months really studying the different challenges that people are having. Not only those of us who are working remotely from home, but there are so many of us who are also still very mobile as we're working. We're constantly on the go. I know travel did decrease substantially, maybe a few months ago, right as soon as the COVID lockdown first started to happen. But now that things are starting to open up a bit more, people are traveling a lot more, especially people in sales type positions. When we start talking about upper management, executive leadership, global companies like Logitech, I can only imagine how many of your leaders have to travel uh, very frequently. And so they also need to have that comfort level as they are traveling with their different tools and products, so that they don't miss a beat when it comes to attending meetings and conducting webinars and conferences and things of that nature.
Yeah. So we can, I mean, first of all, I would say that, so we have this Ergo Lab and this ergonomics expertise at Logitech, which has permeated everything that we do. And when we make certain products and we really call these out as ergonomic choices, but actually all of our products in some way are ergonomic. Ergonomics it's a spectrum from, not ergonomic to exceptionally ergonomic, and then it's a spectrum. It's a continuum from there. And we have some products that are really on the very ergonomic side, but we don't have any products that are not designed in a way to optimize the the functionality versus the design, how it looks, versus the ability to reduce reduce on the one hand the muscle activity, and on the other hand the kind of to keep you in as natural a posture as you can. So ergonomics is everywhere, and that's thanks to the ergonomics that we have working with us, and thanks to facilities like the Ergo Lab. So if you wanted to show something about the Ergo Lab, I think you can do this.
Yes, let's do that. So
Thank
we
you.
have a video here. So for those of you who are listening only to the podcast version of this, make sure you go and check out businessinfrastructure.tv so that you can actually see the video version of this podcast. You'll be able to see this video. It's called Behind the Ergo series, the Logi Ergo Lab.
And
I'm
I
going
think
to
this is about halfway through, yeah. So we can go to the...
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Okay, so let's go ahead and play that video right now.
We see the workplace changing, we see it evolving.
We tend to work longer hours, we tend to work in different environments, particularly in mobile environments.
This longer exposure time means that we need devices that we are more comfortable with and we enjoy using them.
Here in the Ergo Lab, we do tests such as looking at the muscle activity people have when they're using our devices, the pressure that's exerted, for example, when they're putting their hand on a device or on the table, and the posture that they have when they're sitting in their work environment using the devices.
So we spend a lot of time to design these tests and to write down the protocols. We are seeing what is actually happening, the reasons they are happening, and what correlates with what.
The Ergo Lab is an awesome design tool for the team because it allows us to get into the lab with our prototypes and validate at a very early stage to get that rapid iteration, which is synonymous with making effective, desirable products.
Logitech's unique approach to ergonomics is looking not only at ergonomics from the purely scientific perspective, but finding the sweet spot between that and desirability and comfort, of course, without compromising on performance.
It's basically allowing people to work more comfortably, to work without pain, without distraction, to allow them to focus on the task that they need to get done and to do it better.
It's a feedback loop that goes on and on. So you feel better, you do better. If you do better, you would feel better. And it just goes on and on. It's the happy loop.
Well, that was a great video. And we actually have some of those products that were shown in that video here on display behind me. And thank you so much to Logitech for providing these products. We will have that as a giveaway for some of our listeners and viewers here on YouTube. So make sure you stick around to the end of this episode so that you can learn how you can get your name in the hat for receiving one of these products. So back to Logitech. Would you like to give us a demo, Art, at this time of some of those different products that were shown in that video? Some of the different mice and the keyboards.
Yeah, I think we can. And I'll try to bridge it to what you said about the fact that people are working, in offices, and then people may not be able to replicate the same experience, the exact same experience at home.
Right.
And then other people will be more mobile as they use it. And in all of those places, there are certain things that you can do to make it better, to make it more comfortable so that you feel better, so that you can work better, and so that you can feel better about the work that you're doing, which is good for people as individuals and good for us as businesses. And it's something that we care really passionately about. Maybe one of the first things that I'll show you, this is one of the mice that you saw in the video.
Yes.
This is a vertical mouse, right? And a vertical mouse is very familiar. It's the exact same experience as a mouse, but because it keeps your hand in this kind of a handshake position, your hand is at a more natural angle. And at a more natural angle, you'll be more comfortable because you're putting less pressure and less tension on the tendons and the nerves. So it's a small change. But here in the Ergo Lab, we were able to test what angle should we have this at so that we get the best balance of comfort, so the tactile comfort of it, the desirability, because if it's not approachable, people won't use it. And then it needs to be desirable, it needs to look great. And then of ergonomics. And so it's actually a 57-degree angle. And having that at that angle with the other combination of the other elements that make this design, it means that you can actually reduce your muscular activity by 10%. So you're reducing muscular activity and you're reducing the strain and the pressure on your joints and on your tendons. So it's those two things together that result in a more ergonomic experience, being in a more natural position, three things in a more natural position, less muscular activity, and less pressure on tendons. That's one product. And that's where really the Ergo Lab comes into its own, because it's only being able to measure at every stage with lots of different people with different body sizes and different forms that we're able to find that right balance. Another product, and this is one that we announced this morning in the United States. So this morning it's brand
hot
new,
off the press.
fresh off the press. You heard it here first. This is called the M575.
M575.
Yeah. The previous product was the MX Vertical, which is a vertical mouse. This is a trackball. Now, what's a trackball? If you're not familiar with it, a trackball is the same as a mouse, same function, but it stays in one place. So you don't actually move your arm at all.
Ah, okay.
You move the trackball.
The trackball, okay.
And so the M575 is designed in a way where you reduce a lot the activity that your arm and your shoulder and your upper body is doing, and the work happens in your thumb. So it's smaller movements, but you're not doing the big movements of your shoulder and your arm, your upper body. The other advantage of the trackball is that because it's not moving, you can use it in a smaller space. So you talked about the fact that we don't always have the same environment in a home as we do in an office. I've actually got quite a small space, quite a small desk here, right? Because as I mentioned to you earlier, I get the basement in my house to work in, and my wife is enjoying a bright room full of windows at the moment to work in. But that's fine. I think it's all is fair. But I don't have a lot of space. So trackball is great because it allows me to keep my mouse in one place between my papers and between my keyboard. And I'm able to have this precision that I want, this comfort that I want. And here you're reducing by 20% the muscular activity of the upper body. So it's a huge benefit. And the M575 just announced this morning.
Wow.
So those are two things. But like I said, every one of our products is in some way designed with comfort in mind. So another product, if I'm still on the side of the mice for the moment, another product that we launched just about 3 weeks ago, this is called the MX Anywhere 3. And the other things that bring comfort and performance, right? So first of all, you have things like you have silicone grips on the side that make it very good to grip, very easy to grip. It's designed to be perform at its best. For example, it can track on glass, which you talked about people traveling, right? So this one I take as the travel mouse. For me, this is the mouse that I go with. In an ordinary year, I travel frequently. This year, a lot less, which has got its pros and good sides too. But this one, when you go to an airport or a hotel, sometimes the desk will be in glass, and many mice don't function. They don't work on glass because the sensor just doesn't see the glass. This does, so we're able to track on glass, which is really rare and is really reserved for the quality of tracking that we have in this is really reserved to the Master Series. It's also got a wheel that lets me click to click, so I can get really pixel level precision when I want, because if I'm designing something in Photoshop or in InDesign, right, and I want to have this click to click precision, I have a pixel like precision. But if I'm then going through Excel, right, I can, with one scroll, I can go through 1,000 lines of Excel in 1 second.
Oh, nice.
Because it changes from the click to click precision to this free scroll, because it's got what we call a mag speed wheel, which is a wheel that uses a totally different way of measuring how far the wheel is going, right? So the sensor inside is connected. It's magnetically tuned, and it's totally unique to Logitech. It's a totally unique experience, and it's game changing. If you are if you are a creative professional, or if you're a developer who needs to go through long lines of code, this is a game changer. So these things are designed to give you those benefits, whether you're using it in an office, in a home, or indeed on the go, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of some other things, we have resources which may be, I think, really useful to people as they're thinking about, how do I set up my space at home? If I don't have that perfect space that I did in my office, what are the minimum things that I can do?
Yes.
for setting up your space for either, you know, creating and producing with your mouse and keyboard, or if it is for collaborating, for communicating and staying connected with your webcam and your mic and your headset. So we have two different ones. If you want, I can share my screen. I can take you through some of those.
Sure, absolutely.
In Logitech, we have a thing called solutions. And in solutions, we have different things. So I'm going to take you to healthy computing first. And so you can navigate here from Logitech's homepage. As we get to healthy computing, you see overall our guidelines and our, you know, the why. So why we care about healthy computing and why we care about people's health as they're computing, as they're getting stuff done in their personal workspace, whatever that may be. And we see ergonomics. What is ergonomics? Mm-hmm. And so in here, we have also some wellness tips. And these wellness tips go from the first steps to better ergonomics at home to advanced work from home ergonomics. Let me take you through both of those one by one. About the first steps to better ergonomics. These are really things that have helped me as an individual as I set up my workspace, and that have helped thousands and thousands of people. And remember, there are millions of people now who are coping with this same transition of saying, I had a workspace at work that somebody managed to set up for me and made the decisions for. Now I'm making the decisions for me.
Exactly.
So as companies, we have, I think, an obligation to help people and to make them right. But Logitech can also help with some of these guidelines. So these are first a few tips. Like the first thing is about setting up a proper work environment. And here, I mean, if there was one thing, think of the chair, the seat, right? The office chair is designed to have lumbar support and to be sat in for 8 hours a day. I used to work regularly in the evening, and I would work on my dining room table, but I was working for an hour and a half or for 2 hours. If you sit 8 hours in a dining room chair, it's not the same experience. But an office chair, it's designed for that. So if possible, get a good chair, and it really makes a difference.
Yes.
In fact, the chair, you know, you can use any table as long as, if possible, as long as you're not sitting like this at the table, but that your arms are open. So your elbow should be more than 90 degrees so that your hands are actually below your elbow.
Can I ask a quick question, Art?
Yes.
So what I've always been told by chiropractors as well as medical doctors, in order to reduce the effect of developing carpal tunnel syndrome, make sure that your wrists are never bent. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that was...
Yeah. Think of being in the most natural position possible. The most natural position possible, your hands are like that. They're not like this.
Yes.
Right? And so the more you're in this position, the more strain you're putting on the tendon here and on the nerves that are here, particularly on the tendon. So you don't want to put strain on a joint. So you want to be in the most natural position. That's why, as I described with the vertical mouse, you have your hand in this position like that. Right, so it's in the handshake position and it's raised a little bit off the thing. So it can be a game changer for people who do experience pain. Now remember, this is, you know, we sometimes forget, but every year you probably type 3 million keystrokes every year.
Wow.
Right? So kind of a moderate to intense typist types 3 million keystrokes a year. And their mouse moves up to 16 miles a year.
Oh my gosh.
That's not a heavy, that is not like a professional gamer's movement. That is office worker moderate to intense use. So these are long distances that your body is doing because it builds up over time. And the work that we're doing is so important to us, to the people that we work with. So we don't want to ease off. We don't want not to do that, but we have to do it in a comfortable way. And we need to equip people to do it in a comfortable way. So in having your desk a little bit below you, you're stopping that happening with your hands, right? Or that. So you're not like that as you use it, and you're not like that. You want to have your hands as much as possible at a natural, your wrist at a natural angle. And to do that, the desk should be a little bit below you. You should have your feet firmly on the ground. And of course, if you don't have a good office desk, and if you need to use the dining room table, it will often be a little bit too high. So you're better off getting a higher chair, even sitting on a cushion.
Okay.
And maybe even putting your feet on a book, but you want to try to replicate that same posture that you would have in an office environment. So we say chairing is caring. The chair is really, really good.
Yes.
If you can, an external screen or a monitor is a massive change, because suddenly your body is in a more natural position as well. Versus a hunched over position, it's in a natural position. And that over time and over a short time makes a big difference to the comfort. And to avoiding any pain and to feeling at your best. And if you feel at your best, you do your best work. I think, staying off the couch is it sounds obvious, but I mean, moving from place to place during the day can be okay. Sometimes I migrate in my home around different places, like from the kitchen to, because it gives me a change of scene, right? It's same as in the office. In the office, we have a very nice, a kind of a beautiful co-working space, coffee shop style working space on the ground floor in our office. And I often migrated down there to work for an hour and then went back up to my desk. And so I try to do the same here. So changing is always good, but when you really need to sit for a long time, the chair, posture, arms, and whole body in as much a natural position as possible is important. And then, take a deep breath of fresh air. If you can, get outside, change scenes, switch off, and all the other stuff that everybody has been reading about for the last few years about how can we manage the transitions between work and life and work, and those are important. Those are kind of the basic tips. Now, there are also some more advanced tips here, which I won't go into in detail, but I think that they're worth drawing attention to so that listeners or viewers can see it. And these are the advanced work from home ergonomics. And this is a lot more about how you should lay out your desk. So one tip, for example, is that the keyboard should be close to the edge of your desk. It should not be far away from your desk, or else you tend to rest your arms on the edge of your desk. So your keyboard should be close to the desk. Your keyboard should be centered, like the center of your spacebar should be centered with your body. Now, here's an important thing. You may or may not have noticed, but we're not all shaped the same. We're not
right.
all
I was going to ask about that. Yeah. Like I'm short, so
I'm moderately tall. I'm kind of medium framed. Some people are very large framed, and some people are not. The other thing is that not everybody has the same needs, right? Not everybody. For example, I like to have a numbers pad on my keyboard, right? So I use this keyboard. This is a K780 keyboard.
Okay.
It's one that I've used for a few years. I love the typing of it. I love the fact that it's got a slot that I can put my phone in, and I can type on my phone as well. So if I get a WhatsApp message, I can switch typing from my computer to my phone. I can respond, and then I can go back to my computer. It's a great little benefit and a nice keyboard. But it has a numbers pad because I work with a lot of numbers. I tend to put them in a lot, and I like to have a numbers pad. But the larger your keyboard, the more especially if you're smaller framed, the further you have to reach for your arm, for your mouse, right? So for some people, a more compact keyboard can be a great solution. Here's one example. So this is what we call it. This is the K380 keyboard, which is a compact keyboard that you can take around the home. So you could set up a decent working space anywhere, and it comes in a few great colors, right? And the idea of this is that because it's more compact, your mouse hand is much closer to the center of your body. So your body can stay, if you're a smaller framed person, your body can stay in a more natural position than having your mouse out here.
Can I ask you a quick question,
Please.
Art, about this? So with that setup, is this intended to be used with a tablet, or can you use it with a laptop as well?
It can type on anything. So it can work with a PC, with a Mac, with a Chromebook.
Okay.
Which is really important. Especially for younger people who are studying at home and who are learning from home. And it works with it's designed to work with a computer or with a tablet or even with a phone.
Okay.
But this type of, from an ergonomic side, the fact that it is smaller shape means that you can, if you're smaller framed, you can get but the same guidelines apply. You should center it, the center of the keyboard. Center of the spacebar should be centered with your body, and then you keep your mouse as close to it as you can. So posture, if you don't have a chair, it gives guidelines on how to emulate the experience of having a decent chair, including putting a cushion for lumbar support. The monitor, keep your keyboard and mouse close. Raise, if you can't use an external monitor, raise your laptop. And this is for comfort reasons, okay? but we also have a lot of guidelines which are about video conferencing, because that's on the comfort side.
Yes.
But what about for what you said for video communication? What's interesting, it's always been the case for smaller businesses or for freelancers or for consultants or for others, you are your own brand.
Exactly.
And so how you come across in a video conference is really important. Having the right webcam it makes a big difference. If you've got a 1080p, I'm using a C922.
That's what I have.
From Logitech, right? So it's 1080p, it's good quality. It's also got great audio pickup, right? Stereo audio pickup, really good audio pickup. So it's good. If you want great, we have our stream cam, which is really designed for people who want to share their passions with the world, so streamers and creators. And then we have our Brio 4K, which gives you 4K quality, exceptional video capture, exceptional audio capture. And all of these Logitech cameras, the C922, Stream Cam, the Brio 4K, they're also much better at handling bad lighting conditions that we have at home, right? We don't have the lighting conditions. I don't have great lighting conditions here for video calls, but they're much better. They're much more able to show me in a bad, low lighting condition. They're much more forgiving of audio. They have directional audio. They're going to be able to block out the sound of, the fire truck or the garbage truck going by, and because they're smarter. Plus, because they're at the right height, I can actually appear. First of all, for comfort reasons, I can stay in a more natural position. I can engage more with the people that I'm working with, and I can be a better. I can be a better colleague. I can be a better leader for people. I can be a better. I can just engage better with the audience. Second thing is audio, right? So if you're in a shared environment, which many people are, they're sharing their working space with their children, or they're sharing it with their partner or their spouse. In those places, a headset is critical. And we have some great headsets which range from like our Zone wireless headsets, which is really the best of the best for enterprise use case. And for that, we have a lot of headsets that really provide great audio capture and good, decent isolation as well, so you can focus on what you're saying. We also have a lot of gaming headsets. I mean, gaming is a huge part of Logitech. It's a huge part of our culture, huge part of our business. And we've got some of the best gaming headsets out there that give you true immersion, great audio capture. I mean, if they're designed for the gaming headsets use case, they're amazing in a personal workspace. And then we have things like Blue, right? So I'm using a Blue microphone. So Blue is a brand in the Logitech family. And I use this because it allows me to have good audio capture, and I don't need a microphone. Again, my webcam already is great audio capture, but Blue makes it a little bit more special. So in here we have a lot of other resources for how you can set up and empower people to work from home with the right setup. There's a lot of articles in here. There's ebooks on remote working during the pandemic, what people have learned about it, webcams versus laptop cameras, the difference. So you can consider, is it important enough to do a difference? This is an example of where you see the lighting conditions and the lighting pickup. Our webcams are designed for low light conditions, so we know that can be life. I mean, they work in bright light, they work in low light, they adjust. And then it's some how-tos, which I think are really, really relevant. I'll show you I guess that's really the resources that I think that are highly relevant to people as they're looking to set up spaces at home for themselves or for others.
Well, this was great. I'd like to, at this time, share with you a picture of my setup, and I'd like for us to take a look at this and explore diagnose it for me, Art, and let me know the error of my ways in terms of setup. And as we talk through this, I was thinking, we can maybe speak in generic enough terms so that anyone who is listening or watching this can take the same logic that we're about to work through, or this same process that we're about to talk through, and apply it to their own situation, whether they actually are still in their office or a home office, or if they're just mobile and on the go constantly. So this is my setup. You mentioned being in your basement. I'm in my closet because that's one of the best places, it turns out, to podcast because of the sound barrier that hanging clothes can provide.
Yeah.
So what you see here, I have two different laptops. I have a Microsoft Surface Book here that's kind of cropped here on the right-hand side, but my main laptop is here, and it's actually very brand new. I also have the Logitech webcam. I love it. And I just learned very recently that I did not have that set up properly, Art. I still had it attached to its tripod, the tripod that came with it.
Yeah.
And I initially had a stack of books set up behind my laptop, and I would just sit the tripod with the webcam on top of that. Now, what's been interesting for me doing this conference that I mentioned earlier in this episode, I mentioned sitting for hours on end to MC a podcasting conference. What has been challenging for me is to remind myself that I have to make direct eye contact into the camera, because it's only natural for me to want to look at you as I'm speaking to you, but I have to also be mindful of the fact that for the people who are actually watching this video, I need to keep them in mind as well. And they can't, it makes it look as though I'm reading something off of my screen, when in fact, I'm really just trying to look at you as I talk to you.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think, just as an FYI to a lot of people, just always keep in mind when you are doing any type of video conferencing using your webcam, be sure to make eye contact directly with the eye of the camera. Otherwise, the people who are actually watching you, it's going to appear as though you're kind of looking off to the side, that you're looking down, when in fact, that's not what you're intending to do at all. So you mentioned the importance, just to start off in terms of how to improve this setup that I have here. It's important to understand, well, what is your setup intended to do? And in this case, there's podcasting that's going on, but there's also me emceeing this digital conference. And so you can see the microphone that I have here set off to the side on the left-hand side. These are my Logitech. This is my Logitech headset, and I know it's very elementary, but I will say this, something else that you said that's really stuck with me is the comfortability factor. I actually did buy a more advanced gaming-like Logitech headset, and I'm a small person, so I found it to be very heavy, and it was not comfortable for me. And so the people at the store where I bought my headset looked at me crazy, like, I can't believe you want to downgrade Alicia to the most basic type of headset that Logitech offers, but it works for me. I'll just say that. Now,
I think it's great. One size fits none, right? Everybody is different.
Yes.
That's why we have a range of solutions, because we need to. And in fact, I would encourage, when people are thinking about even buying for the office, right? Because, at some stage, more people will return to the office and we'll go back into this hybrid working world. In the office, one size doesn't fit everybody either. And I think that people are discovering now, as they make choices for themselves, that you can be more comfortable with a mouse that's designed for your hand, right? The smaller mice, there's larger mice, with the smaller hands and there's larger hands. And same with headsets, exact same. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is a webcam, which is not form-fitting, but all the other things, they're designed with the body in mind. And bodies are not all alike.
So with that in mind, if you look at my mouse here, I've had this mouse for so long you can no longer see the word Logi.
I'm delighted.
On the mouse.
This is an M310 mouse, right?
It definitely requires an upgrade, because something that you said that really stood out for me is I find it very challenging, because this laptop, I actually have it propped up.
Mm-hmm.
I find it challenging trying to move the mouse around. I don't have to have a mouse pad. And it sounds like a mouse pad isn't needed with some of the newer models of mice that you were talking to us about. Is that correct?
I mean, a mouse pad isn't needed with any of our mice. It's
Okay.
not needed. If people, I mean, from a tracking, the performance is great on any surface, right? I'm
Okay.
using a mouse just on a plain wooden surface. If you want to use a mouse pad because you're used to it for the comfort of gliding or for other reasons, that's absolutely fine. A mouse will work on a mouse pad as it does on the table beneath it. But yeah, I mean, the other thing is that this product, the M310, if it still works and if you're happy with it, you should keep it, because we want to make products that last for a very long time. And we don't want these are things that if they last for 10 years, we're delighted. Now, if you do need an upgrade, then there's a couple of things with your use case here that might be good. If you think of the MX Anywhere 3 that I mentioned earlier, one of the great functions here is that you can connect one mouse to both of your laptops. So the two different laptops, you can connect one mouse to both of them.
Oh, really?
And Logitech, as you said at the beginning, our origins were in software. Well, we're still a software company. We're a hardware and a software company. And we have a software called Logitech Options, which you can download on both computers.
Okay.
And then you can flow with a feature called Flow. You can set it up so that by moving the mouse just from the left to the right, as if you had an external monitor attached, but actually a different computer, by moving the mouse from the right towards the left, you can go from your Microsoft Surface computer to your other computer, and the cursor will jump from one to the other. You can even copy files from one computer to the other computer just by taking your mouse cursor from one to the other. So these are really amazing, powerful experiences that if people discover, they can be game changing. So I'm delighted to get a chance to share about Logitech Flow. If you look it up, you'll find out how to do it, but it's based on Logitech Options software. And that only works with mice which really are enabled like this MX Anywhere 3.
Yes. Well, it's clear to me after looking at you talk about some of the different types of mice and keyboards that are out there. I definitely need an upgrade. There's no question about that. So here's what I do. My day job, Art, is I'm a business process consultant. And so I do a significant amount of process mapping. I use Microsoft Visio. So I use a mouse judiciously. So it's very, ergonomics is not that it isn't important for everyone, but it's especially important for me, because what I find is after a day of, let's say, mapping out different process flows, I have extreme pain in my upper arm, and I've gripped a mouse to the point where my hand to even close my hand sometimes is very painful. So the product, forgive me, I don't remember. Is it the latest one, the M575 that has the tracking ball? Yes.
I mean, that could be a game changer for you.
Yes, I'm wondering if that's because it would reduce, it no longer would require me to have to actually physically move the mouse around, because I know that's contributing to some of the pain that I experience. And I'm saying it's after a day of mapping, but it's honestly after several days of mapping. By the end of the week, I'm a mess. I have to go to a massage therapist to recalibrate.
I understand that. And it can be, I mean, 15% of people experience some sort of pain or discomfort as they're using a computer every day. 15% of people. And that may be exacerbated now. That's a data point that we have from before people started to work more from home since March. It may be exacerbated because people don't have the right setups at home. So again, Logitech as an employer, we feel a responsibility towards our people to make their working life at home as good as it was at work in terms of comfort and everything. So that's one thing. So to really try to replicate that space, that will already improve it. The second thing is to try a trackball. I think is a great idea. We have the M575, and we also have an MX Ergo trackball, which also has the benefits of Flow and of the other things that I talked about. So it's a higher spec. I mean, really is kind of an incredibly powerful trackball, but with the same feature, great precision tracking with your thumb, and you never move your arm. So those are two things, or even a vertical mouse, which will keep your shoulder and your body in the right position. And then if you use that with a smaller keyboard, you'll be able to keep your hands closer to the center of your body.
Yes.
And then that will be that would be more comfortable. But these are it's a fantastic case in point, because it shows that not everybody is the same. People have
Yes.
different needs, different work, and that's why we have different solutions for that. But all of those solutions, in some way, are trying to bring all of the 40 years of working on trying to build the most comfortable, the most ergonomic, the most performing, and the best designed products that we can, so that people can be at their best as they're working, whether it's at home, whether it's in a coffee shop, in an airport, or in a conventional office, which I reassure you will happen at some stage again.
Yes, it will. We have to. I long for the day when we can get back to some sense of normalcy. So something else that has become very apparent to me as you were, again, giving the demonstration of different types of keyboards. So again, in this scenario here that we're seeing on the screen, I have a laptop that is elevated. It's actually sitting on top of a box.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've noticed, Art, is so I'm podcasting right now. I was conducting a virtual conference yesterday. And as I have to lift my hands to type anything, again, that pain factor. And it's okay. Exactly. It's okay if it's just for, 5 to 10 minutes here and there. But if I were to try to type out an email, for example, which had to happen throughout the course of yesterday when I was doing that virtual conference, that's when the pain started to kick in. And at first,
I would say it's not okay. Even for 5-10 minutes, it's not okay. Because it would be okay if there weren't other solutions that are out there. But I'll tell you another thing. As I observe your desk, as I diagnose, I see a lot of cables, right?
Yes, you do. I know. It's a mess. It's a mess.
Cables are horrible, but they are a part of life for some things. For example, for video capture, for a webcam, it's really important because then you have no delay and you have absolutely the best performance in 4K and other things.
Yes.
But for a mouse or a keyboard, nobody needs a cable. We've got the strongest wires that will allow you a distance, right? From up to 30 feet away, which isn't a realistic scenario for you. But to be able to have that flexibility of moving the keyboard close to you, being able to type, and when you're finished, you can move the keyboard out of the way, no problem. If you take something like the K380 keyboard that I talked about earlier, it's light, it's portable, it's toteable, you can move it out of your way. And that would allow you to answer as you want. A mouse and a keyboard, that desktop that I showed earlier, it looks beautiful, it works beautifully, and then you will not have that discomfort, or even that sense of like, okay, I don't want to type this email now because I know it's going to be uncomfortable. So then you're not working at your best because your mind is already saying, this is going to be effort rather than painless. It should be effortless for you to write the email. You should be able to focus on the words that you want to write, not on the tools that you're going to write them with.
Absolutely. And this also is a great example of how, even though I'm working from home right now, I still have to be mobile within my home. So this is not my office, obviously. My office is downstairs, and it is much more conducive, obviously, than my closet is to actually getting work done. But again, because of for podcasting purposes and doing the virtual conference, that's why I set up here in the closet. I also want to mention something else really quickly, Art. Some people may be looking at this and thinking, well, why doesn't she just have an external monitor to a larger monitor? And I do in my actual home office. The reason I have 2 different laptops set up here is because of the systems that I had to use during the conference. So they require a significant amount of bandwidth. And I was so nervous about trying to run everything on just one computer. So again, learning that there's a mouse out there that would allow me to very easily and very seamlessly bring documents from one computer to the next is going to be, as you said, it definitely will be a game changer for me for sure. So I was running Zoom on this main computer here that you all can see in this image. And then on my Surface Book, the laptop that's to the right, that's slightly cropped, I was running, that's where I had my email going. I had Discord, which is another device that we had, another system that we had to use to communicate with each other. I also have Slack going on there. So I did not want to run the possibility of somehow losing bandwidth or having any type of connectivity issues because I was trying to do too much on one device. So that's the reason why I had two different devices. And you're right, there are a lot of wires here because one of the things, Art, with buying newer laptops is that they don't come with as many ports as they
Yes.
used to. So I
Yeah.
definitely have to consider also investing in maybe a docking station where
Yes.
I can
I think
plug.
yeah, I think you can. I mean, also the both of the computers that you've got, they're Bluetooth enabled, right? And so
Yes.
the if you think about the MX Anywhere 3 mouse, the vertical mouse that I showed you, these are also, you can choose to plug a receiver into your computer, or you can choose to connect directly via USB or via Bluetooth. Same with the keyboards. So you can connect directly via Bluetooth. You don't have to use one of those precious USB ports that are now remaining on your computer.
They're
Okay,
hard to come by these days.
exactly. If I could have one other thing, and I think it's important because in the discussion that we have today, I hear from you a lot that we hear broadly, right? In some ways, people aren't aware of how having the right webcam or the right headset or the right mouse or keyboard can actually help improve their them or their way of working or the work that they do by giving them more speed, more efficiency, and essentially more comfort or better connection to the people that they're collaborating with in another home or in another country. These products are so far from being commodities where they're all alike. I mean, there's so much difference, and for everybody, depending on your needs, depending on who you are, depending on your body size and shape, and there can be a product that helps you have a better experience. And I think on Logitech.com you'll find there's a lot of information there also to help guide people to what might be the right product for them, and they really can transform and solve problems that you didn't necessarily know there were solutions for. So I think I'm glad to understand how much work we have to do to tell the stories about the solutions that we've got. It's a nice challenge for us as we
Yes.
continue to focus on these use cases.
And especially for those of us who are entrepreneurs, leaders within other organizations, we're so pressed for time.
Yeah.
And we just know that we might need to replace a mouse, for example. And so we just, I don't know, we go online, we buy something without any additional thought put into, well, is this particular product that I've selected actually going to improve the way that I work?
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful to you for explaining again the logic that should go into making your product selection. Now we've talked a significant amount, and I know we have to wrap things up. I apologize, but we've talked about kind of this process or this decision tree, if you will, that we should try to go through as we figure out ways to improve our home office setup, as well as being able to set up while we're on the go, if we're in an airport, for example, or even if we're sitting on an airplane trying to do some work. We also talked about all of these different types of mice and keyboards, and those processes and tools are obviously essential to business infrastructure. And because this is the Business Infrastructure Podcast, there's one more key element that I'd like to talk about, if we can, for a minute or two, Art, and that is the people aspect. So for those of you who are listening to this podcast or watching this show for the first time, business infrastructure is simply a system for how you link your people, your processes, and your tools together so that work or the company can grow in a sustainable and profitable manner. From a people perspective, and I'm going to just stop sharing here for just a minute. I started thinking ahead of time before our conversation about, you have the people who actually would purchase this type of equipment for a company. So that could be a procurement officer, an office manager of some sort, an executive assistant, an operations manager. But in terms of specialists, we have industrial hygienists, we have ergonomists, chiropractors. Is there anyone else that you can think of? Because I actually had a thought since we've been doing this interview, if you all would consider having certified Logitech advisors, people that we can call on, people like myself, small business owners and others that we can call on to help us understand how we can better set up our home offices and make sure that we are in fact selecting the products that will work best for us, considering our size, our height, the type of work that we're doing, the number of hours, expected hours that we anticipate being in front of a computer.
I mean, I think it's a really inspiring idea. We have so many ideas in this respect, and so much expertise that's built up, and we don't want to obviously we don't want to be talking to ourselves about it, right? We want to get that at the service of people, so that we're here to serve people in their homes, their offices, or anywhere where they're working. And if people aren't getting the right product for them, we know that there's a better one out there, and we just want to pair people to the right product for them, so that they can have this better experience, right? From the webcam to the mouse to the microphone to anything else. So I mean, that's it's a really inspiring idea. I don't know how to go about it. That's okay.
We can talk about that, Art.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the meantime, I would encourage it. We have a lot of resources on Logitech.com. I can share the links with you, which hopefully you can share with others.
Yes, absolutely.
And they really help people set up. If you think about the video collaboration aspect, there are ways to set it up, and for enterprises to make the right decisions to help their people. And then from the ergonomics and ergonomically setting up the right workspace in the home. So I think those are two starting points. And then afterwards, we need to think about how we can help people through that decision-making process to say, okay, this is the right setup for this person. And it will be different, because for some people you want this mouse but a different keyboard, right? So we don't want to make it too complicated for people. We want to try to ease the decision-making tree, right? And we are working on that, on how we can help on that decision-making, but this reinforces, your comments really reinforce our responsibility to make that easier.
Well, that's great to know. And really quickly, I'd like to share the different products that Logitech has provided as part of our listener giveaway. So we have 2 types of keyboards and 2 mice that we're going to be giving away. So this is the Ergo K860.
Yeah.
We have the MX keys. And this is a mouse. We have the MX Anywhere 3, which is the one that you showed.
Exactly. So these are a few of the things that we spoke about earlier. Yes. And the MX Anywhere 3, even just the fact that it comes in multiple colors. Believe me, in when I go back to the office, I don't want to be just given the choice of the one default product, because in people's homes, we've become used to finding products that will fit into our homes. And that's not always the
That's a great point. Yeah. That's an excellent point. And then we have the vertical, the Ergo MX vertical, which is more than likely the one that I will be purchasing, if not the M575? 575. Well, that's probably the best fit for me with that tracking ball. Art, this has been absolutely phenomenal, and I can't thank you enough. This has been so helpful, and it's really opened my eyes. And I have an engineering background, shamefully, so I should know better. But again, I think sometimes I'm just in a rush. I'm in a hurry. I know that I need to replace or upgrade something fairly quickly, and I don't always take the time to do the proper research. And it shows. It shows when I have to take these trips to the chiropractor and the massage therapist. And if there's a way to bypass having to do some of those things, all because I'm literally hurting because of the work that I'm doing, then I definitely need to take the time to actually do my research and make sure that I'm selecting the right products. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Lisa, it's my absolute pleasure, and I've enjoyed talking to you and sharing some of this with you and your listenership.
Productivity is essential to getting things done. As leaders, we not only have to make sure our teams know what work needs to be done and how to do that work, but we also have a responsibility in making sure they are comfortable while doing that work. And yes, this applies even in remote working environments. Let's recap a home office setup process that you and your team can implement. First, write a list of all of the electronic devices and equipment that each team member will need to perform his or her daily operations. If you're working remotely, you'll more than likely need each type of product that Art mentioned in this episode. Next, ask your team members to take an inventory of all of the devices and equipment that they actually have. After that, look at the gaps and then provide a stipend to help them procure new or upgrade to the desired products. Make sure you share articles from Logitech to take measurements for ergonomic compliance. And then set up a feedback loop for your team to share their best practices with each other. And lastly, in the spirit of continuous improvement, always make adjustments along the way based on the feedback that you receive from your team. We have 4 Logitech keyboards and mice that we are going to be giving away. Thank you to everyone who registered for a chance to win. Let's go ahead and see who our 4 lucky winners are. First up is our MX Anywhere 3 mouse. So we're going to go ahead and see who won. It looks like our lucky winner there is Donna Durbin. Now, next up, we have the MX Vertical mouse. So let's see who that lucky winner is. And that winner is Gaurav Kumar Sahu. And please forgive me if I mispronounced your name. So next up, we have our keyboards. We have an MX Keys keyboard. So let's see who that winner is. Latarsha Horn. Congratulations, Latarsha. And finally, for our big prize, the Ergo K860 keyboard. Let's see who that lucky winner is. That winner is, got really close there, Vanessa Duran. So congratulations again to Donna, Gaurav, Latarsha, and Vanessa.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Tarsh from the Tarsh Network, and I am the winner of the MX Keys keyboard from Logitech. So I've been needing a new keyboard for a while now because mine stopped working. And I started looking for one, and then I kind of went into this whole analysis paralysis state because there were just so many keyboards. And then I stopped looking. So when I saw Alicia's post about the contest, I instantly put my name in the hat. As a leadership development coach, I am constantly on my computer, whether that's writing training content, writing my book, editing podcasts, newsletters, videos. I am constantly using my computer and a keyboard. So I am really, really excited to get this. Ooh, nice. This is the MX Keys. So on the box, it shows that it's a perfect stroke keyboard. There's comfort and stability. The keys are illuminated. Oh, and that it flows across multiple computers, which is good because I have a MacBook. So thank you so much, Equilibria, and thank you, Logitech.
Hi, this is Donna Durbin with Clear English Codes. I just wanted to share with you that I got a package in the mail and I entered the drawing. Oh, wow. It's a Logitech mouse. Thank you so very much I never win things very often, but this is great. An MX Anywhere. I really appreciate it.
I am super excited today because the package came. I currently work for Lone Star College System as an academic advisor and basically helping students with their classes, navigate their classes, transfer institutions. But other than that, I am working home, have been working virtually since COVID, and I also have my own business, V's Night Owl Services, which is a multi-service company that helps with taxes, bookkeeping, real estate, all of that. So I'm super excited to use this, and let's see. Oh my goodness. Look how pretty. This is amazing. I am a natural curve split keyboard frame. This is amazing. I can't wait to use it and hook it up. I want to thank Logitech for this awesome prize.
Is there anywhere else where people can follow you online to get the latest tips and tricks and updates as it relates to Logitech?
I mean, I'd really encourage following Logitech on Instagram, for example, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. We have a lot of information that we put out there. And I'm going regularly to Logitech.com. Logitech.com is a great resource. There's a resources section, and in the resources section, you find out about ergonomics, about different case studies on the video collaboration side, and it's always being enriched and enriched. So that's where you'll see the latest and the greatest.
Well, thank you again. Really appreciate you being on the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. After listening to Art, I certainly will think twice before I bring my laptop to any area other than my office. But what about you? How will you rearrange your office to become more ergonomically friendly? This is exactly what we asked the 4 lucky winners of the Logitech product giveaway to tell us, and you can check out what they have to say in the video version of this podcast. I'm getting in on the action too. I'm committed to doing a better job setting up my makeshift studio, and I'll tell you exactly how I'll do it. But there's only one way to find out, and that's by subscribing to this podcast and to our YouTube channel at businessinfrastructure.tv. When you subscribe, you'll receive a notification when the last episode of season 10 premieres. And that's where I'll post a before and after picture of my studio. We'll also have links to the products and articles mentioned during this episode in the show notes. Again, all of this is available at businessinfrastructure.tv. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and for being a loyal subscriber. Remember, stay focused, be encouraged. This entrepreneurial journey is a marathon and not a sprint. Until the next time.